In Sacramento tonight, Republicans are back in court trying to block Democrats' redistricting plan from making the ballot. They argue lawmakers violated the state constitution by rushing the process. The state Supreme Court rejected that claim last week, but GOP attorneys say now that that law is signed, it is a different story. And in Washington, California Republican Kevin Kiley, he's turning up the heat, pushing for a national ban on mid-decade redistricting. House Speaker Mike Johnson still hasn't brought his bill to the floor. And then today, dozens of Indiana Republicans met with Vice President J.D. Vance about redrawing their maps, part of the White House push to boost GOP power ahead of the midterms. Congressman Kevin Kiley, he joins us now live. Good to have you, Congressman. Thanks for your time tonight.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Okay, let's just start with your push in Washington. Just mentioned Speaker Mike Johnson. He has not let your bill advance at this point. Do you feel like this is falling on deaf ears?
Well, he hasn't had a chance yet because Congress hasn't been in session. So we return in about a week. And as soon as that happens, I'm going to be pushing in every way that I can to get the bill heard, to get it voted on, because I believe that it has a strong majority of the members supporting it in the House of Representatives. And I've heard from Democrats and Republicans who say, yeah, this is the right thing for the country right now. We don't need to continue going down this road of one state after another, upending its district lines, gerrymandering in the middle of the decade. And so that's what my bill does. It simply says that let's do redistricting when it's supposed to be done at the beginning of the decade after the census, and let's get on to issues that actually matter to the American people.
Certainly, though, this goes against everything we're hearing from President Trump. He also met with Indiana lawmakers today at the White House. Do you suspect that he would push back against this?
Well, I think that, the situation has certainly changed given what's now going on in California. We have an attempt that's being made by Gavin Newsom to completely upend the law in California, to upend our Constitution, to overturn the will of voters in a way that, in his view, would drastically reduce the representation that one party has in California. So I think that that could well change the way that the White House sees this whole situation. But at the end of the day, it's really up to the Speaker, because he's the leader of the House of Representatives, to advance this legislation and bring it to the floor, and to make a change that I think is really necessary for elections to the House specifically, and for the House as an institution. But I should say, none of this can justify what's happening in California, because California, what's happening here is different than the other states, because it's actually in our state constitution that redistricting is supposed to be done by an independent commission. And they're now trying to sideline that commission and put power back in the hands of politicians.
Yeah, at this point, Proposition 50, that's what this is known as the Election Rigging Response Act. That will go on the ballot for the special election November the 4th. The California GOP, which of course you are a part of, you filed this emergency petition just yesterday for the California Supreme Court to say, no, let's pump the brakes on this. There was a motion, as mentioned, that was already declined. The Supreme Court declined to intervene just last week. What's different now?
Well, so there's no question that everything that they're trying to do here is unconstitutional. For example, the legislature drew up a map for how it would like our districts to look that completely upends the current map drawn by the independent commission. The California Constitution explicitly says that the legislature is not allowed to draw maps. So the only kind of way that they're trying to say that this passes legal muster is that with this special election that's been set, they're going to say, okay, nothing else in the Constitution matters. All of the provisions that currently exist that say you can only redistrict once a decade, that it has to be done by a citizens commission, that you can't take politics and partisanship into account. All of that is out the window. That's actually what this initiative they're proposing does. But nevertheless, there are a lot of legal infirmities with this plan. Like, they're trying to condense and rush the election process, make it happen so quickly that there's a lot of questions as to whether the voters are even going to have time to get the information they need. The way they've written the ballot measure is likely going to be very confusing to voters, designed to get people to vote yes, even though what they want is to vote no and keep the independent commission in place. There's questions about whether they've put too many subjects, multiple subjects, into the same initiative, which is also confusing for voters and not allowed. So there are going to be legal challenges to this, but at the end of the day, it's a plan that is so harmful to democracy in our state, so harmful to the rights of voters and representative government, that we need to fight it on every front, the legal front, at the ballot box, and with my bill in Congress.
You know, when we originally booked you last week, it was to talk about fire aid. We are running out of time, but I want to get this in there because you've been out front on this issue. So fire aid, just to quickly catch people up to speed, that's the big celebrity concert that was held after the January wildfires, raised $100 million. Some of our reporting here at Fox 11 highlighted the fact, in fact, an interview I did right here at 6 o'clock, highlighted the fact that that money does not go directly to fire victims. Instead, it goes to nonprofits. The nonprofits are then to get that aid to said fire victims. You've questioned the whole process. You've called on the Department of Justice to investigate. You and Republican Congressman Jim Jordan have now given fire aid till next Tuesday, September the 2nd, to essentially show their receipts. Come Tuesday, and fire aid said, acknowledged your effort, says that it's working with you, in communication with you. Come Tuesday, if they do, in fact, show you their receipts, what do you do with that information? And if they don't make the Tuesday deadline, what consequences does fire aid face?
Well, I think they will, and I'm hopeful that they will. They've said they want to cooperate. And so, you know, the Judiciary Committee does ultimately have subpoena power and the ability to compel documents. So we're asking for them, you know, just to be provided voluntarily up front. And I believe that they will provide them. So once we get those documents, we're going to make them public. I believe that the public has a right to know exactly what happened to this money. You know, when folks gave so generously and victims suffered so much, and then you have $100 million, and there's all these questions about where it went. I think the public has a right to know that. And I also think that the information will inform how the remaining funds, which is about a quarter of what was given, are ultimately spent, to make sure that that money actually fulfills the intent of the donors to help the victims recover.
Will you come back soon so we can carry on this discussion, because we just ran out of time, unfortunately.
Of course, I'd be happy to, and thank you for your reporting on the topic as well.
Okay, all right, Congressman Kevin Kiley, thank you.
You bet.